Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. We are here once again to look at creating a metadata driven processing framework for Azure Data Factory. And as you can see, I have another special guest with me. So welcome to the channel, Kamil Nowinski. Is that correct? Or Nowinski?
Yeah,
Nowinski?
don't worry about the surname. Just Kamil.
Camille, thank you. So Camille is my friend, my colleague, and a fellow data platform MVP. And just looking back at my Visual Studio environment, Camille actually helped me with my processing framework repository by contributing to the deployment of the Data Factory artifacts that we have in there. And looking back, looking right back to version 1.7.3 actually was when Camille first did that contribution and really helped me out.
That's
And
great.
this very much affected in the deployment tools part of the solution. We have a PowerShell file in here to deploy the components for the processing framework Data Factory itself. So to my great surprise, when Camille first did the commit for me, I looked at this file and I did a compare, which obviously you can do as well if you've got a fork of the repo. And um, what I immediately found was that Camille had basically deleted all of my code, which was nice. So thank you for that, Camille. But of course, there was good reason for this, and this is why we're here today, just to talk our audience through what's going off. So you'll see that on the left-hand side here, the individual PowerShell commandlets that were getting and setting Data Factory, and then the respective component commandlets to set the link services, to set the data sets, setting the pipelines, and then ultimately setting the triggers. All of that code has now gone, thanks to Camille deleting it and thanks to Camille's contribution. So I guess, Camille, let's turn things over to you, and just talk us through, or maybe actually firstly introduce yourself and talk us through why you've deleted all of my code.
Thank you, Paul. So yeah, so my name is Kamil. I'm working with you in Altius as a principal consultant. And yeah, why I delete your code? Because I think that sometimes you can achieve the same with minimal version of code. In this example, I did exactly the same with let's say one line of code. So yeah, I wanted to share that with you, with other people, and explain and share that experience how to do that. Yeah, how to basically minimize our efforts when we're building some PowerShell code and to do the things in easier way. Yeah.
Sure.
So that was the goal.
Sure.
So
So
yeah,
we've
yeah.
got your VS Code up then. So this is now the current version of the deployment steps. Oh, sorry, this is the old version,
No,
isn't it?
this is the old version because I
Sure.
wanted to show. Yeah, you already showed and shared the code. What I changed basically. So at the beginning I reviewed the code. So let's quickly and have a look what I removed basically. So we will focus on this part later on, but let's focus on this part from here. Yeah. So this is the create data factory. So
Sure.
firstly, you are creating the data factory if that doesn't exist yet. Yeah.
Yep.
So you're checking it here, and then if that is null, which means the data factory doesn't exist, you're creating the new one, and etc. If something happened, you're just giving the error message. Oh, in red even.
Mm.
Cool.
That's the extent of my PowerShell skills.
That's good. That was my beginning as well. And then if the data factory exists, you're just giving the appropriate message. Yeah, okay. And
Sure.
then if the instance exists or has been created, you're deploying all the objects type by type. Yeah. So at the beginning, there's a linked services. So we have for each here to deploy all the objects in the in the linked service folder, which is that one. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, we are deploying linked services, data sets, pipelines, triggers, and basically that's it as far as I remember. Yeah, and if you're deploying the triggers, you also need to remember about the other thing. You need to remember to stop the trigger before deploying it, because otherwise it will just get an error. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's why you remember to to stop the triggers, deploy it or create it, yeah, whatever, if that exists or not. And oh, by the way, you don't have the code to stop to start trigger again if that maybe exists previously. So yeah, but anyway.
Thank you for
So
that damning appraisal.
Of course. So basically, you're deploying all
Hello.
the types of code, all the types of objects in your ADF, what you required, what you need. But there's only a few types. There's a linked services, data sets, and pipelines. Obviously, you don't need anything else, but the other one that exists is mapping data flow, for example. Yeah, but in your case, you don't have that one, so that's fine. This code works for you. So what I did, I basically removed the whole code, and now the code looks better, clear. Oh, sorry, this one as well. Sorry, we don't need it. That's it. That was the beginning of my contribution.
Yes,
but
thank you.
actually, what we need, yeah. So we need to do the same stuff, yeah. So what we need to create Azure Data Factory that doesn't exist and deploy all the objects from this folder, from this location, Data Factory, and all the all the subfolders. Okay.
Yep.
So because I've created the module in PowerShell, which is available on PowerShell Gallery, we need to firstly import and firstly install the module and then import it. So let me do that right now. I have already this module installed, so this should not take any effect here. Azure. The module is Azure Data Factory.tools. So let me run this, F8. And I should have this already installed, so nothing happened, yeah? So if you have this, then you need to import this module for the first time when you're running the script, yeah?
Yep, sure.
So let's do it. And let's double check what kind of version do we have here, yeah? So let's do something like maybe not only for one module, but everything what has the data factory in name. Okay.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, so we have Azure Data Factory module provided by Microsoft, and azure.datafactory.tools, which is current version. The latest version right now is 0.14. Which is great. So we have the module installed and ready to go, ready to use. Okay, so any questions so far?
No, this is really good. So this module now will effectively supersede all of those individual commandlets that I had in this PowerShell script.
Yes, as you can see here, we have all the public commandlets here, or function. And one of the important one is that one, is the publish ADF v2 from JSON, obviously from code. So actually you can deploy the whole Azure Data Factory with one line of code, with one function, and this function will care about everything else. Yeah, creating, but basically let's have a look on the documentation. Let me open the PowerShell Gallery. So here is where's the place where the module is published every time when the new version appear. Sure. So as you can see, the latest one is 0.14, as I mentioned before, and it was published by me 6 days ago. Okay, but if you want to see the source code, because it's open source and it's totally free, so you can go to this GitHub repository, and you will see all the code. Let me close this one. So it shows you all the code, and what is even more important, in the README you can see whole documentation and describing all the method, the capabilities, and basically everything what you need. If you will not find anything, just let me know in the creating the new issue or just writing the email to me.
Really
So
nice,
yeah,
very comprehensive.
thank you. So yeah, at the beginning, you have simple example how to use the publish function. Yeah, so as you can see here, you need to just pass few parameters here, like root folder, which basically contains all the subfolders of Azure Data Factory code, resource group, data factory name, and location. Location is required when you need to create a new Azure Data Factory. Otherwise, it's not necessary. It's not required.
And maybe for our audience that aren't familiar, maybe we've got people out there that are still using the publish option via the Data Factory UI, which of course then creates the ARM template and will publish the ARM template. Why is this a better approach to doing that? What does this give us that we don't get? So many things.
I'm happy that you asked that question, but I don't want to discuss it during this video because there's
so many.
maybe not plenty reasons, but there's at least a few very important. So I know that also you are not fan of that approach of deployment. Me either. So yeah, but let's not. I mean, there's a list of the capabilities here, and actually I'm thinking, and I will prepare the blog post about this, and describe why this approach might be better for you. I'm not trying to say that this is the best approach. It's resolved some issues, but in general it depends. Yeah, so it depends how you work with the code, what is your approach to release, what is your policy, and etc. So but currently the ADF publish approach that Microsoft recommends is not perfect, let's say that.
Yeah, sure.
So it might cause some issues, and you can struggling with some problems, and in some places.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally let's not go in that.
Let's talk about that another time.
This video will take 1 hour and a half, or maybe even more. We don't want to do that
Sure.
here. Okay, so let's back to the code. So what we need to do, we need to just execute the publish.
Yep.
Okay, so let me copy that code from here, and in your code you previously use the service principal and some variables from environment. So because I'm not using that one, also let me change the name, because Azure Data Factory name is unique globally. So that name was reserved for you probably. And okay, and that should be fine. Or maybe I will use this one, because I think I created the framework factory 2 previously when I was tested the code. So okay, because I don't have service principal as you, so I'm going to, let's say, change this code and not using the connect AZ account, because I'm already connected and I have my context to Azure. So let me change a little bit this code. Obviously, this is not a part of my contribution, but just for this demo purposes. So if that subscription is there, so then execute this code. If not, just skip it. Okay?
Sure.
Else, just to make sure that I'm in the right context, give me that. Okay.
So you've already authenticated your VS Code instance to your Azure subscription.
Yes, exactly. So that's why I don't need this.
Yeah. Sure.
And let's double check that if that works. Yeah, it's fine. So, so I copied that code. So we don't need this one as well. Okay. And okay, I lose that code. So I mentioned that we need Root folder is which one? We need to double check which is our root folder. So this should be this file, this one, I think. Let's double check that.
And for people watching this, the root folder in this context is just the folder within your repository that contains all of those Data Factory components or resources of Data Factory. That's what we're asking for here as the root folder.
That's correct. So let me build this in the way like, okay, this is our current path. I can use the function get location to make sure that that this is correct and full path of my current location. And I want to concatenate or add, so not get item. I want to use join path function here. So this is my current location, and I just want to add something like we have it. Let's double check that. Make sure that I'm correct. Copy path. So we have already this one. So I just need to add this one, okay?
Sure.
And let's double check that then. And this script path will be our root folder, okay? Because I have all the code in this Data Factory folder.
Yeah.
So that's cool. We have our first parameter. Let's pass it. Maybe it would be better if I not copy paste this code. Okay, because I promise you to show you the one line of code. I need to do that, yeah. So just
you need to remove the line breaks to make it one line.
Okay, exactly.
Oh, wow.
And location, our location, we had this location here. Let's use it. Okay. And the same with Data Factory name. I guess it was like that one.
How many lines of code did you write into the module to make all this possible?
Oh, I don't remember. I didn't count it. Many. It was, yeah.
More than one?
Several, yeah. Obviously. Yeah, it was several weeks of work, so. But it was fun. It was fun. Plenty of files, plenty of lines of code, but it works. Okay, so I think in general, as a first approach, it's ready. So let's just to make sure, what is that? We don't need this one, I think, with the deployment file path.
No, that was my old relative path.
List of components that you want to deploy, yeah?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, we will back to this later on. Let's double check if that publish the general function works. So what we have, we should be able to run all the code right now. This is fine, 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 and yeah, okay, let's save it and run it. Oh, something happened. I don't know what it was else. Okay, so I just make a mistake. What did I wrong? What did I do wrong with this? The term else is not recognized. That's weird. It should be else, right?
As far as I know.
Okay, probably, maybe it must be in the same line. Yeah, that might be the reason. That's fine. Let's back to our code. So as you can see, yeah, the module started here, the function publish started here, giving you all the information, the important information about what will be going on. And now you have the log, yeah? So creating a new instance of Azure Data Factory, that means the Data Factory didn't exist. And yeah, this is the result of creation. And then all the steps, what is doing here and list of the amount of the objects basically per type, per folder actually. And yeah, this is another step, but we'll not cover this one during this video. Stopping triggers and the whole main deployment. Yeah.
Nice.
And everything took 36 seconds, sorry, including the creation of Azure Data Factory actually.
That's pretty fast.
Not bad, not bad. So what next? So in the next step, what I would like to show you is the other option that you can apply to that function.
Yes.
Yeah.
These are options that we don't get if we publish via the UI. So these are options that we now get.
One of the option, yeah, because one of the option is it's making the possibility that you can deploy selectivity.
Selective.
You can do selective deployment. Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
So yeah, so that is one of the option if you use it was new. What was the function?
So maybe for our audience, the reason we might want to do this in the context of my processing framework repository is because there's a bunch of worker pipelines that I've put in there, which I just use for my development environment. Now, of course, you don't want to deploy those worker pipelines to your environment. So all of those pipelines that have got that starting of wait are just, dummy worker pipelines. We don't want to deploy those as part of your deployment to the framework. So yeah, Camille, how can we get rid of those?
Okay, so yeah, let's have a look on this. So firstly, we need to create something we need to create the object of the options class. Yeah, so this function, this public function is for that. So let's create another variable and create new publish option. We don't need to use this one, just like that, and then, oops, okay, here, and then we can check what we have here. So as you can see, you don't even have to look on the documentation. You have all the things here. Obviously, if you are not sure how to use this options object, you can take a look to the documentation, and there's a plenty of examples in there. But let me show the obvious options first. So there's one of the options is start stop triggers. So if you can decide, you can control that behavior if you want to stop and starting the triggers during the deployment process.
Nice.
By default, as far as I remember, it's true. So if you want to disable it, it's simple like that. So another option is create new instance of Azure Data Factory, obviously. So again, by default is true because it must check if Azure Data Factory exists. Otherwise, the rest of the deployment will fail. Yeah. So again, it's true by default. So let's leave it as is. And another one is delete not in source. You don't have that kind of option in the Microsoft approach. From ADF publish branch. So, but here you have it. So you can decide, okay, let's remove all the objects that I don't have in my current code in my Git repository. Yeah.
Very helpful.
So, yeah, exactly. So especially if you are, changing the names or maybe are decided to drop some objects, some pipelines maybe. So might be helpful instead of doing those things manually. Yeah. So yeah, that kind of objects here. Yeah. So let's leave this maybe false right now. And yeah, the other very important and very helpful option is to do the selective deployment. So how to do that? So you have two options. You can specify the objects by include option, by include list, or by exclude. So you can include the objects or exclude them. So in this case, we need the excludes option because you want to deploy everything except the wait pipelines.
Yes,
right?
please.
Yeah, so this is pretty simple. So we need to use this excludes, and because this is a list, the collection list, you need to use the add method. And then the second argument, because it's a hash table list, so you need to just leave the second argument, but we are using the first one. So here you need to define the name of the objects that you want to exclude. So the example might be like that. In the case that we want to exclude the weight one. Yeah.
So we're referencing the pipeline folder, which is the components within the repository. Okay.
Yeah. So the other option, if you would like to, for example, and then I might surprise you, if you want to exclude all the objects that has the name weight, you can do something like that.
Okay, just wildcard.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
So in that case, we are checking all the names of any basically objects, no matter which folder, what type of object it was. Yeah.
Okay.
So obviously in this case, we want to be pretty exact what the type of object is. So we are looking on all the weight objects.
Nice.
Pipelines actually. Yeah. Okay, I remember, Paul, that you had another two objects in your deployment. Do you remember that?
Yes, the intentional error pipeline, and I think also I did have a link service that I was excluding as well at the time to Databricks, but I don't think that's there anymore in the latest version. But yeah, it's probably maybe let's exclude that other pipeline as well.
That one as well. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's do this. So in the PowerShell code, you can just do this like that. And the new option just appeared pretty recently in this version, and version 0.14, is that you can define all these objects directly from the file you created and storing in the Git or whatever, and whenever. So I will show you that in a second. Just let me finish that code. Okay.
What's the second option there, that empty string? What's that representing?
It's basically representing nothing. It's as I mentioned, this is a hash table type of objects that we're adding to this list, and that's why you have to provide the second one.
Okay.
I want to keep it for the future. Maybe it will be used for something, but right now it's just, I assure you that this name is unique in the collection.
Okay.
That's it. So, okay, we built basically something like this. We have the option, we can check that. We have the option variable. As you can see, everything is there. Obviously, we need to pass this value to the publish function. So another parameter here is just option.
Okay.
And we need to pass this variable. That's it.
Very nice.
Okay, nice. Obviously it's not one line of code right now, but as long as you want to use more, capabilities here, so fine.
We can let you off.
Yeah.
So we're doing so we're not deleting. We're excluding those worker pipelines. We're excluding that intentional error pipeline. So now, if somebody wants to do this, they are just going to deploy the processing framework pipelines that they want to their environment. Very easy. Now you've gone one step further with this as well, haven't you? And definitely a step that I've taken advantage of. If you want to use PowerShell, you can of course use PowerShell, but for those people out there that want to use Azure DevOps, you also have this available as a task in the marketplace as well, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. So when I felt that this PowerShell module is pretty ready to use it in somewhere else, I was feeling like, okay, maybe not everyone feel good and skilled very well in PowerShell, so maybe let's do it even easier. because you can use the PowerShell in Azure DevOps, obviously, as one of the tasks. But I was thinking, okay, let's maybe create the custom task for Azure DevOps pipelines and provide all those capabilities in there directly in the custom task.
Sure.
So I know that you are using this task and testing it in your deployment. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I love making things easier. So what I've got here is my Azure DevOps environment. I've got a project in there for the processing framework, and just a very simple release pipeline, which I can just show you because this is my internal area where I deploy the processing framework when I'm doing things for you guys. But what I've got in here is Camille's task, and as you can see, all the same sort of options that we're giving the PowerShell. And this is also the box down here where we're doing the include and exclude. So I've got that filtering in there. So this wraps up everything that you can do in PowerShell, but now within this is your DevOps task, which is obviously really nice and it makes things even easier for people if they want.
Yeah, exactly. So you have the exclusion list directly in your text box, yeah?
Yeah.
So if you want to put that list, as I mentioned, this is one of the other option how to provide this information from file. So here's another option. Obviously, you will find this in documentation. You can provide this file directly using this option. So here, if you have this file, maybe that's not good, filtering, or let's say exclusion list.
Yeah.
It's simple text file, yeah, when you can define all the objects that you want to exclude or include in your deployment. Yeah, so then using something like that, you can optionally set the option of deployment, but then you don't have to use those options, this method, because all the objects are already loaded from the file. So obviously you have the flexibility here.
Really nice, yeah. Thank you,
Cool.
Camille. Let's maybe just wrap up. The last thing I just wanted to tell my audience is that if you've looked at the playlist on my YouTube channel for setting up the processing framework, part 6 of that series of deploying Data Factory, that was using the old PowerShell method, the old commandlet approach that I created. Of course, now everything Camille has shown us here today supersedes that, and hopefully you'll all agree that's a much nicer way of doing it. So thank you, Camille, for contributing to the GitHub repo for our friends out there that might want to use this, and thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and happy to help. Thanks.
Look
Paul.
forward to some more contributions very soon.
Yeah.
Bye
no
for
problem.
now, everybody.